Thank you for joining me on 13 Plus. I'm Cali Lichter, and this is On the Docket, a weekly recap of crime and court in and around the state of Michigan. This week, why one man will spend a decade in prison after being shot by police. And dramatic new video shows the moments a northern Michigan man allegedly stabbed 11 people in a Walmart. All of that and more is On the Docket. A former candidate for Muskegon Heights mayor and former city council member is now facing charges in connection to a bank robbery. It happened August 18th at the PNC Bank in Muskegon Township off Lichter Avenue. Patricia Jones was charged with armed robbery in connection to the incident. Police say she implied to a bank teller that people would be hurt if the bank didn't comply with her demands. Jones ran for mayor of Muskegon Heights in 2023 and county commissioner in 2018, according to county filings, losing both races. She was a Muskegon Heights city council member before that.
And that you did, in the course of committing a larceny of money from PNC Bank, assault or put in fear a person present, that being bank teller, and in the course of that conduct, represented orally or otherwise, that you were in possession of a dangerous weapon.
Not only does Jones have a history of being in the public eye, she also has a history of trouble with the law. According to court records, Jones faced 2 charges in 2010 for assault with a dangerous weapon and aggravated assault. Both charges were dismissed by party.
She waited in line for a short amount of time, and then she went up to a teller and passed a note, and that note was a handwritten note that said something to the effect of that this is a holdup and that some people in there could be hurt if they didn't comply with what she was demanding. And she was able to get away with some money.
Jones was given a $10,000 10% bond, and from jail records, she is no longer in the Muskegon County Jail. When you go out to eat at a fast food restaurant, that's exactly what you want for it to be, well, fast. But for some customers at a Qdoba in Kentwood, their meal was interrupted. Witnesses say a young woman got up on the counter and released pepper spray onto patrons. Our Lance Wilhelm spoke with a woman and her daughter who were there when it happened.
I felt like I was going to throw up, and then I could just feel it in my chest. It was just burning the whole time.
Customers at the Qdoba on 28th Street in Kentwood who came looking for dinner.
Subject there that ran inside the building pepper sprayed several of the customers.
Got a serving of pepper spray instead.
The one girl hopped up on the counter and whipped out a can of her mace and started spraying. Completely covered the food, tried aiming it at the employees.
Danielle, who asked that we only use her first name, was at the Qdoba with her teenage daughter when she saw 2 girls getting their orders. One suddenly hopped up on the counter, spraying the entire store.
We were standing probably 2 feet below her, so it got all of us.
She says it came out of nowhere, seeing no sign of any conflict leading up to the incident. An employee told Danielle that all she did was ask a question about the girl's order.
They seemed like a couple of, put together teens, and in an instant, the one just really lost her mind and just went to town.
But the craziness didn't stop with the mace.
They left pretty quickly out the door. They did a little twerking, a little dance on the way out, maybe gave the bird.
Danielle and her daughter say the whole thing almost didn't feel real. They thought it might have been a joke at first, but the damage left was no joke.
She assaulted probably 8 people with that pepper spray, and then she had to destroy a couple $1,000s easily in food.
Despite just inhaling pepper spray, Danielle was able to run out after the girls to get their license plate, reporting them to the police.
I hope they go after her for destruction of property, and I joked with my daughter, maybe they'll add some community service, maybe have her come in and clean the toilets for a couple weeks.
At the time of this taping, we do not have an update on this case. A man who threatened police officers with a knife and also tortured another man will spend more than a decade in prison. Noted Cervenka pleaded guilty but mentally ill to the charges. I was in court for the sentencing where Cervenka got the sentence he anticipated.
Number 2, the people versus Noted Cervenka.
These are documents 24-0. 2401710FH and 2403611FC.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chervenka, as you know, has no priors in this case. He has strong family support. His mother, Jennifer Ives, is here right now, seated behind the officer there. Other family members have been here at some of the hearings that we've had throughout these cases. This court is aware, again, no prior record. This court's aware of the circumstances behind the two cases here, is aware of the substantial impact of the mental health in these cases. Even though there were drugs involved, again, as I mentioned in the sentencing memorandum, that's often a way to try to self-medicate, to get rid of that pain from the mental health issues, hearing voices, etc. So it had a substantial part here, not enough to find that he was not criminally responsible at the time, but still quite significant amount. Courts read the documents that supported the guilty but mentally ill plea. Noden's been progressing in jail. He's become much more talkative. He's getting some treatment there. He's getting medication there. He said to me just last week that he is now realizing how deep into his psychosis that he was at the time of these incidents. And I think, Your Honor, mental health treatment ultimately is what's going to make the difference for Noden and what's going to make the difference for society. The court has made a very gracious agreement to the bottom of the guidelines. I would nonetheless ask the court to consider going below the guidelines range in this case. A very young man, 8 years seems like it would be sufficient in this case to get him back out for some full treatment, but I ask the court to consider that. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, well, there's two different cases here, and there's three crimes, but the first case is case number 2401710FH. The conviction there is for felonious assault, which is a 4-year maximum. In that case, Mr. Chervenka threatened some police officers with a knife, and he was shot by the police officers. Very serious matter. He recovered, obviously, otherwise he wouldn't be here. But the second case was a lot more serious than even the first one, which was very serious. And this young man was convicted of torture, which is a life offense, as well as assaulting, resisting, or obstructing a police officer. The torture involved a severe beating and stabbing of the victim, who I think was somewhat disabled, and he took advantage of that. He's a 21-year-old man, and we've got a disabled person, I think maybe even in a wheelchair, that was beaten severely by Mr. Chervenka. So the guidelines are very high for that matter. I do acknowledge that Mr. Chervenka does not have a prior criminal record. I also acknowledge that obviously psychosis and psychological problems are a significant contributing factor, as well as substance abuse issues. But when the beating was severe as it was in this case, it has to be taken very seriously by the court. With all that said, the first case is felonious assault. There's a 4-year maximum. Guidelines are 5 to 23 months in this matter. He has a lot of jail credit, 589 days in that case. So I'm simply going to give him credit time served in that case. The second case, there are two crimes. One is torture, a life offense, and assaulting, resisting, or obstructing a police officer, a 2-year maximum. With respect to the assaulting, resisting, or obstructing a police officer case, again, I'm going to give him credit time served in that case because it's 550 days of credit that he has. So the big case, obviously, is the torture matter. Guidelines are 126 to 210 months. The court agreed to a COBS agreement of 126 months at the bottom of the guidelines, given his lack of record and the mental health problems, but also acknowledging how severe the victim was impacted by these events. So the court will impose a minimum sentence of 126 months in the Michigan Department of Corrections, up to 30 years maximum in the Michigan Department of Corrections, the credit for 550 days that have been served.
You know, the Michigan Department of Corrections is kind of its own closed box a bit. It's hard to get the information of exactly what will happen or what is happening there at times. My understanding is that they do have psychologists who are there. In fact, Noden's mom just talked over the weekend, just happened to meet a woman who's a psychologist up at Oaks Correctional Facility. That gave her a better feeling. We have the sense that he will get treatment, and we think that he will get mental health treatment, which is what is actually needed for sure in this case. More than incarceration, by far, the treatment is the important thing. And so we have a sense that's going to happen, but there's no guarantee. No guarantee that he'll get mental health treatment. I suspect that he will. Yep, and they will provide the medication. They will provide the medication there. So that will be good. And I've noticed over this long time that we've had these cases that Noden has really come around. He's really, you know, almost a different person now that he's been off the drugs, that he's been on the medication. So just hoping that goes forward for him in a positive way. But something's made a difference. I'm assuming it's one, the medication, two, no drugs available.
Okay.
Yeah, because he does admit, he knows that made it worse ultimately. The drugs amplified the symptoms of the mental health issues. At the same time, the drugs for a short period of time at least would relieve some of those symptoms. So he's aware that that's been an actor for him that's not been positive overall.
Next on the docket, what new charges a Granville orthodontist is facing after sexually exploiting a minor while on bond. And we get up close and personal to one of the Kent County Sheriff's Office's largest drones. A West Michigan orthodontist is facing charges again for child exploitation. Already charged in Kent County, Thomas Shannon is now facing charges federally. Shannon previously had a practice in Granville. I dug through the court docs to learn more about the 5 charges he is now facing in federal court. 2.5 years after being charged in Michigan for allegedly possessing child pornography and soliciting underage girls for explicit photos and videos, an orthodontist is being charged federally for similar crimes. Thomas Shannon had multiple practices in Granville and Plainwell. He was arrested in January 2023 for allegedly paying minors for explicit images and pictures through Cash App, and on a few occasions attempting to meet up with those children to have intercourse. These victims were out of state and the case is ongoing. Those incidents are repeated in a federal criminal complaint, which led to Shannon's arrest earlier this week. He is charged on 5 federal counts relating to child pornography and sexual exploitation of a minor. He was out on bond when arrested. In the federal criminal complaint, it details 5 minor victims who allegedly had contact with Shannon over Snapchat and another social media app. The victims range in age from 12 to 16 years old, and the interactions happened over a period of 5 years. Shannon was allegedly talking to one of the victims, a 13-year-old girl from Maryland, while out on bond in the summer of 2024. The complaint alleges the girl would perform sexual acts for Shannon while on FaceTime, and text messages allegedly suggest the two meeting up in person. The documents say his GPS tether indicated he was on his boat docked in Grand Haven while talking to the girl. Also in the complaint, investigators found numerous photos and videos of child pornography showing children as young as infants. Some found when Shannon hired a computer forensics investigator to take a look at his phone and iCloud accounts to show there was no child pornography. Investigators were also able to link Shannon's name, social security number, phone number, and home address to the Snapchat and Cash App accounts used to talk to the girls and purchase child pornography. According to the state licensing and regulatory affairs website, his dentist license is still active until May 2027. Shannon is still set to stand trial here in Kent County and is currently scheduled to start in November 2025. In federal court, he has a preliminary hearing and a detention hearing coming up. And if you're anything like me, you get really psyched when it comes to new technology. So, of course, I jumped on the opportunity to get up close and personal with one of the Kent County Sheriff's Office's largest drones, which they were training with on how to use it during water rescues. But as I learned, these drones are used for so much more than that. They can go where some deputies can't. This is one of 14 drones used by the Kent County Sheriff's Office for anything from tracking a missing person in the woods to making entry into a building with an armed person.
These aren't just out there for surveillance, obviously. They're out there for plenty of other things, where it's mapping crashes, life-saving efforts, looking for missing people. These are tools that are necessary and needed.
Deputy Tyler Poyer says the Matrice 300, their biggest drone, can get up in the air in a minute and fly through the air at over 30 miles per hour.
It's also used for photographs of overhead views of major crime scenes. It's used for multiple things, and just the photographs, the drop kit, honestly is just scratching the surface of what this can do.
Drones at the Sheriff's Office aren't new, but the technology is ever evolving and changing. This drone is able to drop a med kit to someone injured in the woods or a life preserver into open water, the latter which deputies were training on earlier this week.
Just trying to show that drones are not just robots with cameras.
Public Information Officer Scott Diedrich says when there's heavy current or ice, the drones are able to help out where it may be too dangerous for deputies. Diedrich had drone assistance a few years ago when a drone helped locate a suspect he was looking for in the woods.
And that gives us a better picture of what tools we might need when we go there and how we're going to accurately and safely enter that situation.
For the Sheriff's Office, the drones are just another way to help keep the community safe.
And these are used for a wide variety of things here at the Sheriff's Office. That only makes our reports more accurate, saving lives quicker, responding to incidents quicker.
On August 20th, troopers with Michigan State Police were dispatched to a home in Ionia County for a missing 80-year-old man with dementia. He had been missing, according to MSP, without his required medication for 2 hours before troopers were called to help search for him. MSP Aviation was requested to assist, and from there, the air was able to find the man lying in a wooded area. Ground units were directed to his location, made contact with him, and got him the provided necessary medical care. Take a look.
Central Trooper 2.
Hi.
I think we might have located them here on the south side of Long Lake. We got a light in the area of where he's at. If it's going to be just east of the address.
Can you try to lead us in there to him? Me flash my light up at you?
Yep. You have to keep working your way east, and you only get bits and pieces here, but just keep pushing east. Maybe about 50 or 75 yards straight off your nose. It should be hold up right there to your right, to the south of where you're at. Two that are together, straight south.
Got eyes on, we got eyes on. We're out with them. Can you start medical? We'll work on getting them out of here.
A firm, 2257.
Good work, Trooper 2.
Yeah, no problem. Good work to everybody out there.
Next on the docket, we take a look at dramatic security footage taken the moment 11 people were stabbed at a Walmart in Traverse City. Hear from a security expert who breaks down what happened. On July 26, deputies say Bradford Gilly randomly attacked and stabbed shoppers at the Traverse City Walmart. Gilly has since been found incompetent. We were able to get our hands on that security footage from inside the Walmart during the attack. But before that, let's bring you up to speed on what initially happened. The man in custody for allegedly randomly stabbing 11 people at a Walmart in Traverse City is now facing a terrorism charge. The Grand Traverse Sheriff's Department says Bradford Gilly used a 3.5-inch knife to stab 11 people, ranging in age from 29 to 84, including one Walmart employee. Just before 5 on July 26th, the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office says they received calls about a man with a knife inside the Walmart, quote, actively stabbing people. When deputies arrived, multiple people, including one armed with a gun, were confronting Gilly, shown in bystander cell phone video. Earlier this afternoon, Gilly was in court, arraigned on 1 count of terrorism and 11 counts of assault with intent to murder. At his arraignment, Gilly started off by saying he did not want to speak to the judge.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to you.
But the court hearing continued. When bond was being discussed, the Grand Traverse County prosecutor asked for a significant cash bond to protect the public and because of his prior criminal record.
Clearly, this is one of the most serious crimes that someone can commit in the state of Michigan, and it has a huge impact on public safety. We believe that it's truly the only way to protect the public at this point.
Something the judge agreed with.
So the court is very concerned about the allegations in this complaint. Certainly is one of the most heinous accusations from an individual that's been before this court in 30-some years.
He was given a $100,000 cash security bond and is also not allowed on any Walmart property. While setting bond, the judge had to mute Gilly for talking. And during the hearing, it was put on record Gilly has a history of mental health issues and is currently unhoused. Now to the new content. New video obtained by 13 on Your Side via a Freedom of Information Act request shows what it was like inside the Traverse City Walmart during that mass stabbing. It shows several different angles from inside and outside the Walmart as the suspect went on a violent rampage. We want to warn you, some might find this video difficult to watch. We were able to get more reaction to the video this time from that man who just saw the video. Our Kiara Patterson spoke with him and has advice from an expert on what to do in a crisis.
Send every ALS unit you have available. We've got multiple victims inside a Walmart.
Surveillance video is giving a clear look at the terrifying moments inside the Traverse City Walmart when 11 people were stabbed on July 26th. The footage shows the suspect, identified by police as Bradford Gilly, actively attacking and stabbing people in the store. Matthew Kolakowski, who helped stop the suspect, says watching the footage brings back the chaos and the adrenaline of that day.
I grabbed the grocery cart. He had stabbed the lady in the back, and that's when you see me in the video hit him with the grocery cart, and then try to hit him again, and then we kind of go off camera a little bit.
Kolakowski and others managed to hold Gilly down until police arrived. He says even weeks later, watching the footage brings back some fear.
I try not to think about it, but I do fall back and reliving it in my head sometimes, and it does get me shooken up a little bit.
Expert Brandon Holmes from Lifesaver CPR says survival in a situation like this depends on knowing how to respond.
The biggest thing you can do is try to preserve life safety if somebody is bleeding out. So first of all, you have to kind of plug the holes and stop the bleeding. If you're in that situation, try to protect anything that's vital, which would be basically your neck, your chest, anything that would be like a major artery in your body.
Of the 11 injured, 9 have been released from the hospital and 2 others were transferred. Holmes says the video is a reminder that in a crisis, every second counts and anyone can make a difference.
It's always great to have anything that will make you more prepared in the world. Self-defense, could be super important. CPR is one of those skills where you hope you never have to use it. Super important if you do get if you're in the right place at the right time and you can make a difference.
Thank you for joining me in this episode of On the Docket on 13 Plus. We have new episodes releasing every week, taking you into the courtroom for the latest updates and deep dives on crime in and around West Michigan. In the meantime, we will bring you the latest on crime in court, both on air and online at 13onyourside.com. And when breaking news affects you and your community, we stream live on 13 Plus with what you need to know right when you need to know. We'll see you next time with updates on what's on the docket.